dudes didn't believe I was fighting the body.
Right.
With the way I was conducting myself, I stayed positive. I was writing music.
You have 1 minute left.
Like, just moving around, smiling all the time, things like that. And dudes didn't believe that because in my mind, this is America. You know, they got all some forensic shit out here, so they're gonna do the right thing. This is what I thought. Eventually, I'm gonna beat this because this is America.
Yeah.
And when you really check it, people that live in other countries get this perception of America as this land of opportunity. I'm not taking any credit away from America. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
It's a dope country, but based on our perception, I used to watch CSI with my grandfather in Barbados sometimes because we had direct TV out there.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, so in my mind, like, they about to do some CSI shit and get me the fuck out of here.
Right.
That's what I thought. And that's not what happened.
Yeah, unfortunately. Why don't you call right back?
Ain't got a moment. When they see you down, there's no they love and all that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got special guest with me, calling in from behind the wall. He could tell it better than me though, so why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from, where you're at right now, how long you've been down, and we'll go from there.
I bet. Yeah, my name is Respect. My name is David Yarde, a.k.a. Rude Boi the artist. I've been down 12 years. I'm currently in Susan Brand Nelson Correction Center, the maximum security facility in Massachusetts.
Okay, so why don't you just tell the people how old you are so they could get an idea about about that.
I'm 34. I've been down. Basically, I'm 34 years old. I've been down 12 years. So basically, I got locked up when I was 22. Just turned 22.
Okay. So just tell me a little bit why you wanted to come on the platform today, man. I know you got a lot going on with your case and everything.
Yeah, because I feel like for a long time I've been being silenced, and over the years I got wrongfully incarcerated in 2012. There was a lot of stuff in my case that proves that they knowingly put me in prison, ignoring evidence that pointed to another suspect that was actually at the scene and stuff like that. And I was trusting in the system, trusting the lawyers over the years, and everybody wasn't telling my story or sharing my story the way it should be shared. Everybody put their own perception on it, from the DA's office to even lawyers who came around and acted like they cared to help, but they were there to, it seemed like they were there to put nails in my coffin, which would keep me in prison.
So there's also some, you were telling me, over the phone when we were talking a little bit, that there's some evidence out there that really 100% proves your innocence. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, and why is that being ignored, or in your opinion, what's going on with that?
All right, so over the years, I had accumulated expert opinions based on the evidence they used to convict me, wrongfully convict me. So the experts took this evidence and evaluated and came back to a conclusion with scientific certainty that it was impossible for me to have committed a crime. 2 forensic pathologists, a video expert, and more importantly, a crime scene reconstruction shooting and ballistics expert, Louis Gordon. And after they reconstructed the evidence that the DA said proved my innocence, proved my guilt, they concluded that it was impossible for me to have shot the victim. And there's a lot of stuff like, so before I got charged, an eyewitness identified a specific person, and the police ignored that and charged me. They found that witness after a while. He came into a grand jury, gave a grand jury testimony, which was not consistent with my description at all. And, basically, years went by. I tried to find out certain things, doing my own homework, research, digging up things, reaching out to people on my own. And one of the people that I ended up reaching out to was a former DA that was a district attorney under Rachel Rollins, Bobby Constantina. And he told me he was giving me insight on a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes, corrupt stuff that was going on behind the scenes as to why I was wrongfully incarcerated. And the reason why they ignored the evidence that proved my innocence even before it was evaluated, because it's clear. I just need an expert opinion to that's more solid. You can't refute that.
Absolutely.
But it's because this individual is an informant.
So that's why you think, so in your opinion, that's why that they chose to go after you, because they like their informants?
Basically, yeah. So if a lot of dudes don't understand this, but a lot of dudes be outside acting like they gang and playing, but they working for they got an informant handler, so they're allowed to put in work, they're allowed to do certain things, just not kill anybody. And when it comes down to it, they're more favorable to be put back on the streets. It determines on the circumstances if they could give them if they could help them out, make a call, ask a favor, or if depending on how the situation is.
Yeah.
Basically, my case is like this, right? The actual shooting was not caught on camera. So there's no way to determine who actually shot the victim based on surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the initial homework on the case and investigation, where the trajectory of the shell casings, the trajectory of the shell casings, the trajectory of the entry and exit wounds on the victim, from where I was last standing, the eyewitness testimony, this individual, after a search warrant, they found evidence in his home connecting him directly to the firearm. They found bullets in his home that matched the shell casings on the crime scene. I said all that to say this. There's a gray area because the actual shooting is not on video. Mm-hmm. So because of that, that put them in a easier position to throw me under the bus and allow him to throw me under the bus. Just look at it like this. Four dudes from the hood out at a party, and someone else get killed at the scene. And these 40 individuals at the scene in the hood, there's no way possible where one person gets charged and the other 4 kids get called as witnesses. That don't happen in the hood. Right. You feel me? And when you really check it, like, that shit happens in the suburbs where people got connections and shit like that, where their families connected. Oh, we just gonna let you guys come on down to the station and give y'all statements after. That don't happen in the hood. So it's clear that, I was like a scapegoat, because why is it that what make these other three individuals so special that they're just gonna get called as witnesses?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And what's your opinion on that? Is that because they became state's witness, or?
Nah, because they not because they became state's witnesses, because in situations like that, it's like they charge everybody first, and then after that, they decipher who's going to get a deal. But everybody's getting charged first with murder, at least. Then they over the years or the period of time of going to trial and different things like that, they start to break it down. Well, okay, we're going to give you a deal. You told us this, you told us that. And not because they turned state's witnesses, but because what I want to say is because I feel like after this thing, I'm not sure about this part, but I feel like after the crime took place, I feel like the informant contacted his handler and gave his handler a heads up. And I feel like his handler got an opportunity to go on the scene or call in the favor of other detectives that were pulling up to the scene or responding to the crime. Yeah. And because, for instance, Detective William Dunn, he's a corrupt detective in the Boston PD. He's gang unit. When after going through my paperwork, I found out he was one of the first people on the crime scene. He took a gun off the victim's waist, and he was one of the first people. And he was one of the first people that went into the room with the surveillance, the security people. Yeah. But so Detective William Dunn was one of the first people on the scene. He pulled up, and you can see the videos. Most of this stuff is on video surveillance. Yep. He took a gun off the victim's waist. He went upstairs to the control room with the video surveillance. The security runs the video surveillance, and he's one of the first people on the scene. And leading up to my trial, another detective who also handled the surveillance was Detective Zing. He was demoted after evaluating the evidence in my case, which is questionable. Wow. Being a homicide detective is a privilege. Yeah. So to be demoted, I wonder what happened behind the scenes, and I believe these things are because he violated protocol as far as the surveillance goes in my case. So It's like I believe this handler gave it to his it's my bad, bro. I fucked up.
No, you good. No, so I got a question though. So is it public record to this demotion, right? Like why he was demoted? Is that something you could look into, or is that something that they just kind of handle internally and they don't really care? And then also that other guy you had mentioned was corrupt. Was that just because of something on this case, or does he have other instances outside of your case that he's known to be corrupt?
Perfect question, right? So this is public record. Everything on my case is public record. Everything I'm speaking on is public record. So even though a lot of us don't know that these public servants records are public records. I'm currently looking into specifically why Zing was demoted. I'm having someone help me look into it to find out specifically. That's why I said what I said in the beginning. And also, Detective William Dunn is connected with. I don't know if you heard about the documentary called Murder in Boston. Yep. And he's on that documentary, and he's admitting to committing, like corrupted acts and stuff like that. Admitted to doing misconduct, kicking people's doors down, and which is actually stuff that he's admitting to doing should put him on the Brady list. He shouldn't be a detective investigating any types of cases. He should have a desk job or lose his job.
Now, is this all stuff that has come out years later since their conviction, or is this stuff that they knew beforehand, or just wasn't public?
So a lot of this stuff is stuff that they knew beforehand that wasn't public. Now it's being public. As I've been down for 12 years, technology changes, things changes in life. People become more vocal. A lot of people get more get more into like activism and wrongful convictions and justice, fixing the justice system. You feel me?
For sure. Some people just get closer to God, I feel like, and want to do the right thing, maybe, and just repent.
That's a fact.
You never know.
That's a fact.
So you had mentioned the scientific expert, right, that you had.
Right.
Is this now these issues that he had looked at? Are these things that were initially addressed at your original trial?
So not really. They weren't addressed. So before trial, my lawyer, my public pretender, William Sully, convinced me that I didn't need to have expert analysis. So I was communicating with another lawyer. Every time I had questions about my trial attorney, I would go ask other attorneys that I have built a relationship with over the years, and they would give me insight and help educate me on certain things. So I brought it to his attention. Hey, I think we should get an expert to prove that I didn't commit this crime. He's like, don't worry about it. The witness identified someone else and said it wasn't you. You had the white hat on. The person in the white hat wasn't the shooter, and don't worry about that. That's good. So I said that to say this. The first witness I mentioned on the beginning, I said he identified someone else before I got charged. So the DA's office and the Boston police did not make much effort to pursue this witness, questioning that properly, because he wasn't given an opinion or the facts that was consistent with the person in charge. See what I'm saying? Yep. So my defense attorney took it upon himself. After I threatened to fire him a few times, he decided to put in a little bit of work and pay an expert, a private investigator, to go find him out in Utah. And in Utah, you have a one-way consent to secretly record someone else. So you don't have to have a two-way consent like Massachusetts. And he notified him, I'm here to speak to you about a homicide that happened in Massachusetts. He didn't specify who he was working for, the defense or the prosecution. And then he basically started to show him the video. While he was showing him the video, he's off the rip. He starts to identify this other individual, like, hey, him, that's him right there, pointing at the person that didn't have the white hat on, which wasn't me. I had the white hat on. At the end of the interview, he notified the expert. The expert notified him, like, yo, do you know the person that you identified wasn't the person that was charged? And he's like, what? Who was charged? He's like, the one with the white hat. He's like, nah, if it was him, I'd have remembered. If it was the white hat, I'd definitely remembered. So he cleared that up. So they didn't properly investigate or pursue this individual. So my trial attorney, having this audio, convinced me that this audio was going to be played at trial, and this witness was going to be present at trial, which the witness was present at trial. And don't worry about the expert stuff. We got this witness saying it wasn't you, and I trusted that would work. But the audio from the witness wasn't allowed to be played at trial, only his testimony, and then he limited this individual's testimony. Wow. Basically.
So you get this guilty finding, right, at trial. I'm sure you're immensely shocked and everything. How does the appeal process work? Do you get on an appeal right away, and then, like, what happens with those? You have 1 minute left. All right, so you get found guilty at trial, which I'm sure came as a big shock to you. What's the appeal process like? How long does that take to get started? Like, what goes on with that situation, and kind of, and then build that up to where you're at now with the whole appeals process and
All right, cool.
everything.
Cool. So the appeal process is they appoint you an attorney first, and once you got to wait for them to appoint you an attorney. You got to wait for your trial transcripts. That's the whole process. So, but at this time, I already knew my case from before trial. I read my entire case file, caseload and stuff, and I seen stuff that wasn't adding up. I don't know, and I was wondering why my lawyer didn't use this stuff. So eventually, after I got convicted, I came upstate, and when I got in tune with other older individuals that's been locked up for a long time, I asked questions. I observed. That's the type of person I am, and I noticed that no lawyer treat me like me. So I started educating myself, reading my case, reading up on case law. Appeal lawyer.
Hold on, bro. I kind of lost you for a second. Just restate what you just said.
From where?
I guess the last 30, not 30 seconds. Last couple sentences, really.
Oh, after I got sentenced?
Yeah. We'll go from there. Yep.
Yeah, I know. Cool.
Yeah, you were talking to the older heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So after I got sentenced, I went upstate, came upstate, and when I came upstate, I started asking questions, started looking into certain things, asking older dudes questions about how to help myself and things like that. And I realized that nobody's gonna fight for me like me. Mm-hmm. And along the way, I realized these dudes educated themselves legally, started understanding statute, Rule 30, what a Rule 30 stands for, the statute and that, and different things like that. Already knowing my case, already knowing things, this didn't add up. How could I have got convicted? So I started to try to help myself and work towards helping myself, understanding my case, understanding my rights and stuff like that. And I started to I like going to a car, right? Going to a car mechanic, right? And if you know cars, a car mechanic can't tell you, overcharge you, or tell you that something that simple is worth more than it's worth. You know what I'm saying? So I try to take that approach with my case and understanding certain things. Obviously, I'm not a college grad or anything like that, but a lot of this stuff is common sense. You got nothing but time to read and understand these things while you're incarcerated. Mm-hmm. So my first appellate lawyer came to see me and said that there's nothing she spoke to my trial attorney, there's nothing she can do to help me. I should just try to do the time and hope to get parole. And I laughed at her and I fired her immediately. Wow. And that was more motivation to try to help myself. Second appeal lawyer was appointed to me. Similar experience. And I'm pointing out valid issues. Like one issue was a dude recognized me during the Miller trial because I grew up in Barbados and I met this individual up here years ago, back in 2004, playing cricket with my family in Franklin Park. Wow. And the experience with him wasn't the best experience because he was being bullied by other individuals on the team. I was a kid at the time. These are older men. So my family left these older men in charge of me because they're from Barbados and they grew up around my family members and stuff. And it's for the purpose of playing cricket, a sport that we love back home. Mm-hmm. So this dude was being bullied. I kind of laughed at him a few times when he was being bullied. I'm a kid. Yeah. It's like that's how we grew up in the West, in the Caribbean. You got to have tough skin, So it wasn't like nothing crazy, but he ended up being on being the juror foreman in my case. And I told her about this, and she tried to brush it off, as if it wasn't that big of an issue because he could have tainted the entire jury over it. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. When I realized she wasn't trying to do much with that, I fired her. And I filed a pro se motion myself. My first time filing a pro se motion in 2016, I believe, 16. And the clerk told me through third party, through my mom, telling me, hey, tell your client that the judge notified him that there's more issues he needs to address as well. So go back to the drawing board and, readdress everything together. Yeah. And that's when we went back to the drawing board. They appointed me another lawyer, and I told this lawyer straight up, if you're going to come here and waste my time and not listen to what I want done, just don't waste my time at all. Don't even come back to see me. Right. He's like, why? What do you want? I'm like, because I believe if I have an expert analyze the evidence in my case, it could prove my innocence. And he's like, all right, bet. He went back to his office and got back to me before the 30 days, which he said he would come back in 30 days, and said he agrees with me. That's when I got the first expert. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Arden. He's a forensic pathologist, and this is now my first Rule 30 process where I'm filing my first Rule 30 based on Jonathan Arden report. And then again, I fired that lawyer because I didn't trust him completely. Because after I read something that makes sense, I asked him a question. I told myself, if he answers this question the wrong way, I'm firing him. I'm like, what do you think about this? He tried to criticize it. And I'm like, in my mind, how you criticizing something that's law? Right. I read this in the computer, the Westlaw computer. So obviously, in my gut, you're not all the way 100% for me. Plus, on top of that, after he got the first report from Dr. Jonathan Arden that proved it was inconsistent for me being a shooter, I'm asking him, like, so you're gonna go get me out of prison? You see that I'm innocent? He's like, yeah, well, but I have to go to Hawaii to finish building my house. Then we can address that. And when I first heard that from him, I'm like, yeah, I'm not keeping him as a lawyer much longer because he's not in a rush to get me out of prison after you see your client's innocent.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And what's your experience like having all these lawyers, man? And do you think when you tell them that you're innocent, do you think for the most part that they tend to believe that, or do you think that they just write it off because everybody says that? Like, what's your feel, at least, with the lawyers that you've encountered?
I've had a feel I have a different feel with different lawyers. I have over eight lawyers. Okay. I learned not to play around. This is my freedom.
But you may have one or two that does care, you think?
Huh?
You think you do have one or two that really actually does care and does believe?
Yeah. I'm definitely getting to that. Gordon Spencer, he genuinely cared. Like, that's the last lawyer I had. And I got to shout out to him because all these other lawyers are getting the wrong expert. Like, the second lawyers that I had after the one I fired, Richard Shea, the one I just mentioned, that said he has to go back to Hawaii to build his house. After I filed that pro se motion myself, my mom told me she spoke to Yarde Adam from New York. Yarde Adam was actually incarcerated, did 10 years, overturned his case, came home, and became a lawyer. She said he could relate to me, to understand, he could help me out. Yeah. He stepped on my case, because he's from New York. He had to team with a Boston attorney, Carlton E. Williams, and they got the second two experts on my behalf. Another forensic pathologist, Dr. Lapasada, she just retired, and a video expert to reconstruct the video surveillance to prove that I wasn't the shooter, which is really good. Yeah. But then again, I believe after coming to Boston and having a meeting with the DA, Yarde Adams kind of switched on me. His energy kind of switched. It wasn't, he's confident about walking me out the courtroom and stuff like that, getting me out of prison. And after this conversation he had with them, I felt like, there was something, I believe there's things that go on behind the scenes where my case being publicized or getting me out of prison, things like that could lead back to, it's like a thread on a t-shirt or a sweater. Yeah. You keep pulling at it, eventually the whole thing's going to unravel. Things about the dude being an informant, them protecting the informant, and a lot of people's jobs could be at stake and stuff like that for knowingly putting somebody away in prison. And behind the scenes, so I believe they changed in his mind because after a while he started acting weird and stuff like that. Then on top of that, Carlton E. Williams, who's a Massachusetts lawyer, he told me that Rachel Rollins at that time in 2019 was agreeing to like look into my case because of the actual expert evidence. But what I was mentioning about Carlton Yarde Adams before is more, he started approaching me more like if I was he wanted me to snitch. Yeah. Like he was trying to ask me questions along the lines, I don't need to be a snitch. It's not my job to be a snitch. Right. I'm not a law enforcement. I'm not law enforcement. I'm not a prosecutor. That's your job. Y'all need to go do your homework, do your job, follow the evidence where it leads, and leave me out of it. I don't need to have to snitch on anybody to come home. You see what I'm saying? That's not my right. I shouldn't have been put in that position. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if the evidence leads you to someone else. For sure. And that's where things started to fall apart. And around this time, Rachel Rollins was looking into my case, saying she was going to help me. And somehow that didn't work out based on my responses to Carlton E. Williams and Yarde Adams. snitching or basically giving specific details about certain things where I don't need to. But I'm not saying Ms. Rollins did anything wrong or didn't do anything wrong. I don't know how that process went behind the scenes. I never spoke to her myself, but that's how that played out with them. And then eventually, thanks to the Most High, Gordon Spencer stepped onto my case, and he got the most credible expert. So after my Rule 30 was denied with Carlton E. Williams and Jared Adams, because the judge said that the experts I had weren't qualified because of their title. They were forensic pathologists and a video expert. The judge saying that they're not qualified to reconstruct a shooting crime scene. So were I to have the correct expert, which is a shooting expert, maybe he could consider it. Yeah. Which is what Mr. Spencer did. Mr. Spencer got Louis H. Gordon, a ballistics shooters reconstructionist from Springfield, to evaluate the evidence that they used, and they said prove my guilt, which proved my innocence after Mr. Louis Gordon did his analysis. He called in another expert, and he came to a conclusion of scientific certainty of impossibility that I was a shooter.
So what's next now for you? Where are you at with everything now? How do you get back in front of the judge? How does that work, bro? Like, what's going on with that?
So my whole process is this. In 2023, my Rule 30 was denied by Judge Michael Doolin after an evidentiary hearing. And at the evidentiary hearing, the expert came, he was present, and he told the judge in his testimony that, I couldn't have shot the victim. And so my last Rule 30 was denied based off of that. And I feel like I should share this too. So Gordon Spencer and Michael Doolin, the judge, were colleagues once before Doolin was a judge. So they have some kind of rapport, relationship with each other. And he asked him, like, why you deny this dude's motion? He said, he's seen his innocence. He said he doesn't believe that I'm not innocent, but he doesn't want his name attached to my case. And mention about if, then I go home and hurt somebody or something like that. Something along those lines, right? Yep. And this is when I had a conversation with Mr. Spencer and an activist and different people about my approach. And, after reading certain things, understanding the law, I don't have to go through a whole process of filing a Rule 30 motion or going to the appeals court based on the evidence I have that prove my innocence. The DA's office is in a position to file a motion within the course, an emergency hearing, asking the judge to vacate my conviction, supporting my release. Because there's something called a SJC Rule 3.8J. It's called considered the special responsibilities of a prosecutor, where they're supposed to seek to remedy injustice when there's clear and convincing evidence that proves that the defendant did not commit a crime, which was convicted in their office. Wow. So ever since then, my approach has been getting more attention to my case, getting more attention to my circumstances, publicizing it, reposting on social media, activism. I have people advocating for me, writing letters and stuff like that. And we also have a campaign, the Justice for David Yarde campaign, which you can find on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll be having screenshots of the Instagram and everything up on the video as well for that too. But it's just, how you brought that up about the DA, about what they're supposed to do, man. And I always say, it's not the justice system, it's the conviction system, because there's really no incentive for actual justice. Like that judge said, he has no incentive to let you off. He's actually making it about him, and with all this hypothetical situation, what if he comes out and do all this, when it's you got to just look at the justice. And I feel like they don't do that. There's no accountability for that. They just, whatever little bit of evidence they got, this is the guy we have, we'll just try to make it work, and the truth doesn't even matter, it seems like. I mean, is that a fair assessment, in your opinion?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So many words. That's a fair assessment. It's like a big machine. It's like we're all pawns in this big machine, or fuel. We all play a different role, and they're like at the drawing board. Yeah. Controlling things in so many words. Like, okay, we can't. What? All right, back to 2013, right? The DA gave my lawyer, pointed out to my lawyer, audio of this individual that I was holding out for in the police interrogation room, and she gave it to my lawyer. He's like, listen, she said, you need to try to help yourself. I was kind of hurt because I heard this individual inside in the interrogation room being questioned, and it went along with they were saying, "Hey, what's up? Tell us what's going on. We know you didn't do anything. Just tell us what happened." He's like, "I don't know anything. I don't know anything." Then we're like, "All right, cool. We got to pause the audio because we have to swab you about a separate investigation or something like that." They paused the audio, and when they resumed the audio after swabbing him, he went into saying things like, "Oh, I didn't see him with a gun. I didn't see him shoot, but he was the only person behind me when the victim was shot." Basically implicating me as a suspect.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And after they let me hear that audio, I went to court. I didn't even have court scheduled this time. They pulled me into court, and when I got to court, I see this guy sitting in the back, you know, where the public sits. He's sitting there with no cuffs on, and my lawyer whispers in my ear, "Depending on what you say today, that could be you." I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Wow.
He's trying to get immunity, and they're not giving it to him. They granted the other dude's immunity. They're not granting his immunity. And so when they did this process in front of me, my lawyer asked me again, like, "You ready? Like, you ready to help yourself?" And I was 21. I was 22, 23 at the time. And I tapped on the microphone that's on the desk in the courtroom where you sit, where the defendants sit. And I asked him, "Does this work?" Mm-hmm. He's like, "Yeah." And I tapped on it, and I said, and I spoke into it, and I said, "Tell that bitch," I said, "You can tuck that deal up her ass," talking to the DA. In my mind, I'm not snitching. But my point is, they gave me an opportunity to be in this position if I were willing to basically cooperate. Wow. Which is, in my mind, I shouldn't have to cooperate if you guys see the evidence points to the suspect. Y'all fucked up, just admit it.
Exactly.
Y'all fucked up, just admit it. Just come on, we fucked up, we got it wrong. Don't put me in a compromising situation because you don't want to admit that you're wrong, that you got flaws in your justice system.
Absolutely, bro. Word. All right, so I wanted to ask too, so what if somebody wants to help and support your cause, man? Why don't you, what can they do, bro?
I feel like people could, like, follow my Instagram, look at this stuff for themselves. So everything's posted. I have nothing to hide. Everything's public record, first of all. Mm-hmm. But, like, getting stuff from public record is kind of complicated for the public. It's a long process.
Yeah.
So, I posted everything on my case on social media. I have nothing to hide for everybody to see. And, concerned citizens and people that care about reforming the justice system, or, like you said, the conviction system, and they can see for themselves that I'm actually innocent. Make calls to the DA's office. Reach out to Governor Maura Healey or Attorney General Andrea Campbell, people like that. Ayanna Pressley, people that got a voice, especially people that come from the two of the people I mentioned, Andrea Campbell and Ayanna Pressley, who come from a specific type of background where they can relate to specific stuff, not to take away anything from the governor, but still reach out to these people, get them involved. Like, what about this case? Look at this individual's case. They all got social media, so you can take content from my page and tag them in it, or jump in comments, or send DMs, stuff like that. Get them on board. Reach out, help me take content from my page and tag Kim Kardashian. People that got a spotlight, that have a platform. People that can shed a spotlight on this injustice and call out Kevin Hayden to do the right thing. Because to an extent, it seems like he's ignoring the facts in my case. These people stick together. There's a whole system where they stick together, and they don't want to make each other look bad because they all have dirt on each other. Even down to Bobby Constantina, him giving me insight on a lot of stuff that was going on behind the scenes. And the reason why I believe he decided to help me too, is because in 2019 he agreed that I was innocent. And once COVID hit, he was working from home. When he came back to work after Kevin Hayden took office and Rachel left, he realized he was fired when he got to the office. Realized his desk was gone.
Wow.
So there was obviously some type of bad blood between him and Kevin Hayden. So in my mind, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and he already was supporting my release back in 2019.
Absolutely.
So that's how we started to talk on the phone as an attorney call, and he started to share things that was going on behind the scenes. Like the individual in my case, the person that was at the scene of the crime, he was identified by the witness. They found evidence in his home connecting him to the firearm that was never located. All these things, and he explained to me that this individual has strong signs of an informant because he has non-process. Back in 2010, this individual allegedly shot at his brother's girlfriend's car. She reported him for that. They raided his apartment, found a sawed-off firearm, and that's a federal charge off the rip. Getting charged with stuff like that, that's federal.
Yeah.
And these things were brushed under the rug where he got slaps on the wrist, non-pros, or even in my case, they found in his home, they found bullets that matched shell casings from the crime scene. The rear bullets from the rear shell casings from the crime scene, and connected to the actual gun based on the police recovering this evidence. And doing my research, they did not run the bullets and the shell cases through the same database system to see if they came out the same gun box.
Wow.
1, 2. In the search warrant, they asked for anything connected to a 9mm firearm. He was arrested and charged with 9mm bullets. He was at the scene of the crime. They have video of him at the scene. Like I said, wow. He was called as a witness. He was never charged in connection with the homicide, but charged separately and given 3 to 6 months in South Bay with a guilty without a finding, meaning that I guess after a period of time that could be sponged off his record.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, especially with the joint venture law in Massachusetts anyway. Say even if everything you told me, say by chance, you know what I mean, that you were the principal or whoever was the principal, right? You would think there would be a joint venture charge for that guy at least. Like they don't.
Exactly.
There's got to be something up with that.
Especially being caught with evidence that connects him to the firearm from the crime scene that he was at.
Yeah.
After he was identified by the witness as the suspect. You know what I'm saying? It's just not adding up.
Yeah, the math ain't mathing. For sure. So I said the math is not mathing, man. It's not adding up like you said. But what is your situation right now? Do you have a court date? Are you waiting to hear back on something specific? Like where are we at right now?
So we're just waiting we were supposed to get meetings from Kevin Hayden, which never happened. So I just been trying to get more support on calling him out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the eyes of the public, call him out, put pressure under his ass, do the right thing, address his case. Look Absolutely. At it. All the evidence is there. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting on doing that, I filed a posting habeas corpus petition with the federal courts, which the federal courts are held to higher standards. Gotcha. Usually, and the thing with my case is Massachusetts doesn't like to address actual innocent cases.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So the feds do, unless they address it, unless the prosecutor is willing to admit wrongdoing in their office.
We gotta, we're doing this, we're talking about it, so hopefully that could put some pressure on people and hold their feet to the fire. People need to be accountable. You want to take these positions with good pay, you got to take the responsibility that comes with it, and the responsibility and accountability that comes with messing up. That's why you get paid so much. It's high risk, things happen, but if you mess up, it should be, a high punishment, especially where they're held to these they should be held to these higher standards, being in these positions of power and everything like that. But from everything you told me, man, I really believe that you're going to be one of the ones, man. You're going to be home soon. It's just, don't stop fighting, man, and keep doing what you're doing. But I wanted to bring it back and get to know a little bit about more you as the person, bro. You said you grew up in Barbados?
Yeah, I grew up in Barbados.
Okay, so you were born over there?
No, I was born in Boston, but
you grew up
I went
out
back
there?
to Barbados. Yeah, my mom's side of it. My grandmother raised me in Barbados. My grandmother and my grandfather raised me in Barbados, out in Yarde Born, Black Rock, St. Michael.
Okay, so how long? I mean, at what age were you when you went over there?
So I believe I went out there so I would come and go as a baby, come back and forth. I have vague memories growing up in Mattapan, in the apartment complex we grew up in.
Yep.
I got a little bit of memories of the pool and stuff like that, running around the hallways.
Mm-hmm.
One Halloween, so I believe when I was 5, between 3, 4, 5. Yeah, around 4 or 5 was when I was permanently out there.
And when did you come back from Barbados?
I came back from Barbados in 2009 permanently.
And how old were you when you came back? Just so to help me with the math, so I don't got to do it in my head.
So I was 18 going on 19 when I came back.
Okay.
About 19.
Okay, so let's just talk about your experience in Barbados, man. Like, what's that? What was that whole experience like? Talk about the culture out there. What was going on? You raised by your grandmother, you said?
Yeah, my grandmother raised me. That was a dope experience, but they're kind of strict. my people were strict in the household. I was strict. My grandfather was kind of strict. My grandmother was always loving and caring and thoughtful. I'm one of her favorites. I know people are not gonna like me saying that, but yeah, I was basically her favorite, her first grandson and stuff. I was always like a sweetheart towards my grandmother and stuff. Yeah. But it was really a dope experience. Like going to I went to nursery school, primary school, secondary school. I played sports. I played soccer. Nice. Played a little bit of cricket, and I ran track and field. Going up in middle school, from primary school, then I went to secondary school where I kind of fell back from doing that type of stuff.
So you had told me too that you grew up with Rihanna. Is that what it was, bro? Or you just talk about that? Like how close? Like what do you really grew up with her?
I know her personally. She knows me personally growing up. My mom's friends, Auntie Zelma, Auntie Marcel. Auntie Zelma is her aunt, and her mother's name's Monica, Auntie Monica. So these are my mom's friends. So like my mom, we would go to Auntie Zelma's house sometimes, and she would be there with her mom. Or my mom owned the clothing store downtown Bridgetown, Barbados, which was right across from Rihanna's aunt's store, her mother and her aunt's store. Wow. So we were pretty close. We went to the same church, Power in the Blood Church, and stuff like that. Like we used to go to Tim's. There's a place called Tim's and sells macaroni, pie, and chicken. So on the weekends when I'm working in my mom's store, we would go down there together and stuff like that. We were pretty cool growing up, pretty close, like family friends.
That's amazing, bro. At what point did you see her make it big? Like you come back over here, was she already big by that time?
When I came, before I left Barbados, I was supposed to leave to come to America. And before I left, like she used to, honestly, that's a very determined person. Like I used to see her like practicing sometimes in her aunt's store. Wow. Like singing in little routines and stuff like that. But I was a really shy person, real shy. And I was saying, I used to sing and stuff in church choir and stuff like that. So I used to kind of be scared to interact and certain things like that, be around. Sometimes I have my moments, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But my thing was with her was like I seen her do a lot of from where she came from to where she is now. I respect that, and I'm very proud. I'm happy to see that because she came from far, and I seen her manifest all of this. And there was a time people in Barbados are really blunt people. You have to have a tough skin. Yeah. So she used to be dancing and practicing and talking about really doing music and singing and stuff. And people used to talk shit and laugh and clown about it, Yeah. And so to see her really overcome that, and nobody's not really that big out of Barbados other than her. Yeah. No, that's so fine. To see her do that, that's really an inspiration and stuff,
So you come over at around 18, 19 years old. So what kind of, culture shock was it? Or were you always coming back and forth? I guess talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I was always coming back and forth. So every 2 summers I'll come back to America and stuff and go back to Barbados. But then before I came back up this time, I was living in Jamaica. And so I was living in Jamaica from 2006, 7, 8, 9 is when I came back. So when I came back, it was kind of things would kind of change. I went back to some of my old friends' houses thinking they still lived there. They wasn't living there anymore. So I had to readjust myself and stuff like that. Some people are cool. Some people don't talk to you anymore. Some people have got beef with each other now, things like that. So it's kind of I came back up on a mission. I didn't fulfill my mission. My mission was to come up here and pursue, do my music and stuff like that. When I was in Jamaica, I had the opportunity to be around Egyptian, a recording artist and stuff. He got a song called Hold You. I had an experience being around, hanging out with him and stuff like that. It's kind of a big bro to me to an extent. Yeah. So my thing was to come up here, have an opportunity to focus on my music, write songs, and get songs recorded. So when I could approach him, now, to show him I'm on some positive shit,
Yeah. You got to, because everybody talks about it. That's why, you wanted to have something you could show. You know what I mean? Actual proof that you're doing something.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that didn't work out because in the process of me doing that, I got shot. And then, that kind of set things back. And after I got shot, I got out of the hospital and I got arrested with a gun an alleged firearm, and things kind of been not really steady focused on music ever since that process.
What changed from being, you said you were shy as a kid to wanting to do music? That's, now you got the public eye. You're gonna, you know what I mean? If ideally you hop on the stage in front of thousands and thousands of people, like what changed that made you want to do music, bro?
So basically things like when I went to Jamaica, I feel like that's when my confidence started to sometimes people say things to you, it doesn't resonate with you in the moment. Things were said to me back then, even by Rihanna, I call her Robin, even by her, things were said to me that, and I would pay attention to energy. I pay attention to how she conducted herself, certain things she was doing and pushing for it, like her confidence, how she had her head held high in certain circumstances. So a lot of times after I got older, a lot of times I would sit back and play back scenarios in my head. So when I got to Jamaica, I had more experiences with being around Egyptians. I've been around different artists.
Yeah.
My pops died, Bounty Killer as a dancehall artist, a famous dancehall artist. Yep. I got a chance to but be on stage with him while he was performing in up in St. Thomas, which is a parish in Jamaica my pops is from. So I started to gain more confidence as I got older. My cousins were doing music and stuff like that, and I always got compliments from females from singing and stuff.
Yeah.
So once I started to realize that attracted females in that type of way, it was like a little superpower. I use that as my confidence.
What's your favorite thing about music, bro? I mean, whether it's listening to it or writing it. What's your favorite part about music? What's your favorite thing?
Favorite thing about music is how it makes you feel. Like music, the feeling you get from music, from a specific song or a specific song lyric, something, a beat. Because there's songs you don't listen to the lyrics, you just listen to the melody and the beat, and that makes you feel good. Or there's a song that has the lyrics that's dope, that you like what it said. You keep that, and you relate to it. It connects people,
Absolutely. There's a song for every feeling. I take it too. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
So music is a beautiful thing, beautiful way to create, and like you said, it goes beyond just the words, because sometimes I listen. Like Millie's just dropped a track where he's rapping in Spanish. He's on with some Spanish cat in it. The song is dope. I don't know one word that they say besides maybe Blanco or something, but the sound, the beat, the vibration, the frequency, the energy, it's all part of it. The words are just one piece of the puzzle. For sure.
Yeah, but I love being in the process of writing music too, writing a song, playing the beat over in my head, harmonizing, coming up with lyrics, or being inspired by a specific thing to make that song.
Absolutely. So I just want to talk a little bit about leading up to trial. You're at Nashua. You in Nashua Street?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I want to talk a little bit about leading up to trial. Were you in Nashua Street?
Yeah, I was in Nashua Street from 2012 to 2013. Then I got convicted for my gun charge and went to South Bay.
I mean, what was your confidence level like going into trial? I mean, knowing that you didn't do it, knowing that you weren't the shooter, were you pretty confident that you were gonna not get convicted?
Yeah, I was 100% factual confident. I was confident, very confident. Dudes didn't believe I was fighting the body.
Right.
With the way I was conducting myself, I stayed positive. I was writing music.
You have 1 minute left.
Just moving around, smiling all the time, things like that. And dudes didn't believe that because in my mind, this is America. They got all some forensic shit out here, so they're gonna do the right thing. This is what I thought. Eventually, I'm gonna beat this because this is America.
Yeah.
And when you really check it, people that live in other countries get this perception of America as this land of opportunity. I'm not taking any credit away from America. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
It's a dope country. But based on our perception, I used to watch CSI with my grandfather in Barbados sometimes because we had direct TV out there. Yep. And I'm like, oh, so in my mind, they about to do some CSI shit and get me the fuck out of here.
Wow.
That's what I thought. And that's not what happened.
Yeah, unfortunately. Why don't you call right back? So the verdict comes back, bro, right? Guilty finding. So I guess kind of break that down. What was you found guilty of? What degree? And then talk about what's going through your mind after that night when you go to lay down in bed. Talk about your mind state. But just first lead with the what was the actual conviction of?
So So my actual conviction was I was charged of first degree murder, but I was convicted of second degree murder, and they also convicted me of the firearm that they never recovered. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that feeling was like the feeling of like a punch in your gut when they read the verdict and it came back guilty, knowing it was the dude that recognized me during the middle of the trial that was reading the verdict too, because the juror phoned me read the verdict. Wow. And that, the victim's family was laughing in the background and stuff like that and making little comments. And in my mind, I'm like, like, I understand you're grieving and stuff like that, but at the same time, I'm not the person that actually, that had anything to do with killing your family member. Yeah. But I still have to stay strong because at the end of the day, like, I'm not the type of person, I don't believe in going and curling up in a ball because of something didn't go my way. I don't believe in that. That's not, you're not going to reach anywhere in life like that. I've always been a determined kid. Always been determined and motivated. And
so what did they give you
like
for a sentence?
Huh?
My bad. What did they give you for an actual sentence? So was it 15 to life and then more time for the gun conviction?
Yeah, they gave me 15 to life for the second degree murder, and 3 in a day for the firearm that was never recovered.
Okay. At any point, man, do you ever like look to God or anything and like ask like, why are you putting me through this? Why me? You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be a tough thing to kind of to deal with, knowing you're innocent and then knowing that may not matter to them. To the system, people get obviously found guilty all the time of stuff they didn't commit.
It's funny you said that, right? So I believe in the Most High 100%, right? And I didn't ask that question, like, in that type of way. Like, I don't believe in, I always been told it's trials and tribulations. Like, even growing up in Barbados, some of the older dudes I used to look up to, he's in the streets and stuff, but he always had his Bible with him and stuff. His name is Sandro, right? One of my bros' older brother. And he always used to say this thing, it's trials and tribulations that's coming. And prepare for that.
Yeah.
Trials and tribulations, you got to give thanks. You know what I'm saying? Give thanks. And so even I heard that stuff from my mother and my grandmother and stuff in church. Hearing this from somebody outside in the streets, hearing him say that, obviously resonated in my mind, because even if he acknowledged that, like, there has to be something to it. That's what I was telling myself. So. And it's like, it's kind of ungrateful towards God. If you really believe in the Most High and stuff like that, it's ungrateful, like, to even, like, whine and curse God. Like, for instance, Job, in the Bible, they speak about Job and how Job not once cursed God when he lost everything. He still kept giving thanks.
Yeah.
So I always try to keep an attitude like that over years. Always keep an attitude like that. No matter how many times I was disappointed or set back or got my emotions denied or things ain't worked out for me. I've written to multiple people over the years. It's to the point where I try to find Lala Anthony's number to help me out. I found Jason Flom's number from the Wrongful Conviction podcast. He's a celebrity, and I found his number. I actually spoke to him. Wow. And he's supposed to be helping me, getting me to Sean Ellis and stuff like that. And for what it seems like, that ain't working out. I don't know why it's not working out, but that's not gonna discourage me. I called Lala's number and she banged on me. Yeah. I have no shame. I'm in a desperate situation where I need help. You guys are public figures and you claim you do activism and stuff like that. And my evidence is pretty clear. I'm giving everybody the opportunity. You can reach out to the expert himself. Yeah. I'm not gonna limit you from that, or you can speak to my lawyer. I'm giving people the opportunity to help me. And even though it's not working out the way I expected to work out, getting in contact with those people, I'm not discouraged. So nothing much is going to discourage me. I never had that attitude at all where I felt defeated or hopeless, and that's not my mindset. So my process has been, the one thing that made me cry, honestly, my mother. When I got a chance to speak to my mother in the holding tank, right after I got the verdict, one of my attorneys called my mom for me because she was in Barbados at the time. And my mom jumped on the phone expecting a not guilty verdict. What happened? You beat the case? You beat it? And I'm like, nah, mommy, I didn't beat it. They found me guilty. She's like, stop lying, stop playing me.
Wow.
And when she realized I wasn't playing, she started crying. She broke down crying. And I started tearing up and crying a little bit, but I had to hold back tears because I realized this for a long time. Like, a lot of people in my family, my friends, or people that get to know me and stuff, like, they feed off my strength because of this. Even on the situation I'm in, I'm always positive. I get on the phone, I'm motivated and positive. So I'm staying strong for them too.
Absolutely.
You know, I grew up in a...
That's how I look at it out here too, man. Anytime I'm kind of going through some things, you know, I think of people, you know, like you, but I more, you know, look at my brother JoJo and like, damn, you know, I bet he would kill for my problems. You know what I mean? Right now,
Exactly.
I bet he'd give a left leg for my problems now. You know what I mean? It puts things in perspective, bro. And we got to draw strength from it for sure, man. And we do. We draw strength from the people like you who are able to fight these fights, man. That you know, God gives the toughest battles to the strongest soldiers.
Strongest soldiers.
For sure. And your faith is admirable too, man. Because that's that work. That's what I call that when, you know, you're not questioning God. You're not, you know, asking why. You just have faith that things are going to be all right. But you definitely got to put the footwork in. You can't just fall back.
Question.
Absolutely. But I'd like to get into a little bit about, you know, you've been in for a while, man, and there's a lot of glorification of prison and crime and all that stuff when you look at movies and music, right? So the kids are hearing all this. I'd just like for you to say, you know, maybe give them the other side of that, like, why it's, you know, that's not the place to be, why maybe crime isn't the route to go. We talk a little bit about that, like a message for the youth who kind of getting brainwashed with all this glorification.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna be honest and be blunt. Like, in Barbados, people used to say sometimes that's not gonna last as long as the snow cone, right? The snow cone's pretty, and once you first get it made and you got the milk and the different colors and stuff, then 5 minutes later it's melted and looks disgusting, right? The lifestyle looks like something you look up to. And I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was no saint. In Barbados, I got mad respect. I was one of them dudes around my people.
Yeah.
Same up here. All that shit look cool for now, look good until you in a situation like mine. People don't tell you the truth about when you fight in a body, when you facing life in prison. Dudes don't send you canteen, like, but your bros, all these dudes, your bros, this, the gang this and gang that. I see dudes up here right now, bro, that's in here fucked up. Don't got soap to wash their ass, and they was respected. They was respected in a certain light on the street. They're not making canteen, and this is how that shit ends up for the most part. A few people maintain good discipline or maintain certain things. Like myself, I'm not in the fucked up predicament. I'm doing all right for myself. But that's just I'm locked up. I can't do certain things that I want to do. I want to be able to hug my family. I want to be able to be there for my kids and be able to go to a studio, record music. So dudes don't see the other side where it's like this shit don't end. It only ends a certain way. When you locked up in prison for life or a long time, 30 years. I know dudes that got 30 years in prison or 13 or 14. When you really do the math, that's a long time to be away from your family, be away from society. Absolutely. Being restricted and limited and being told when to shit, when to eat, when to sleep, when to wake up, when you can shower, when you can call your family. You know what I'm saying? Even though they got the phones and the tablets. Now, the other day, when they felt like it, they turned the tablets off. Now we can't call our families. So dudes don't tell you about how you feel about that and how you feel or when that snow cone melts. You feel me? Like, it looks good in the beginning. Like bitches is on your dick. Dudes is saluting you, picking you up. Right. When it come down to it.
Yep.
When it comes down
may
to it,
taste good, but it's probably going to give you diabetes, right? You know, I like that analogy, bro.
Yeah.
Nah, I got you, bro.
That's a fact.
For sure, man. So, I mean, tell me why you think it's important for, you know, not only you, but, you know, other people. I'm sure you ran into people in there who have, you know, maybe been on the podcast, but why do you think it's important for people to tell their story on the platforms like this, or this specific platform?
Because everybody's not a Meek Mills, right? Mm-hmm. And I say that to say this: Meek Mills got in trouble, and that's one of my favorite rappers. He got in trouble, and based on his connections and his celebrity, things worked out in his favor. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? If I was a Meek Mills, I would not be. I got the first expert report that proved my innocence in 2018, January. 30th. I remember that. Got the actual report in my hand. This is 2025.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
4 experts later. Sorry, what you about to say?
No, I was just saying that's crazy how long it's been.
Yeah. And then 5 experts later, when they criticized the first 3 experts, 4 experts later, they switched their tone from saying I was guilty to now saying I got legitimate claims to be evaluated, right? And I said that to say this: this is giving us the opportunity to speak up. Yeah. And share our stories, because when you come from inner city communities and stuff like that, they have a way of keeping you silent, even down to the media outlets. I have written to countless news stations, journalists, people I've seen on the news, follow them on social media, shared actual facts, giving them a consent letter to ask the expert in my case, is there any other details that would prove otherwise that I was innocent, right? And not one of these people decided to do the right thing, publicize my case, get me the help I need, give me the exposure I need. And one, even recently, Sarah Lattacourt, the journalist, reached out to me, and then I know after a while she said, do the resources she can't. Bullshit. My point is this, because they have a whole system to keep us silenced. You feel what I'm saying? We're part of this big machine. Yeah. So having an outlet like this, where you're not connected to anybody, doing this on your own, you get an opportunity to share what's going on. Yeah. Like, for instance, like when you watch certain movies, right, or see certain documentaries in certain countries, right, this is a real fact. Like, for instance, in Brazil, people just think that there's only light-skinned people in Brazil that look a certain way, not knowing that Brazil has ties to Africans and stuff like that. There's different, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So they control the narrative of what you see, the perception, what you see of that country. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So then someone who doesn't have access to the world or isn't educated see a person that's black, darker complexion, like, yeah, I'm Brazilian. Like, what? Right. That's crazy. I never knew. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's the same sense where they control what goes out to the media. They control what the world sees. Absolutely. So put a platform like this, you're giving me a voice. You're giving me an opportunity to speak my truth or share my side of the story. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely, man. It's very important.
So I guess what's one thing, like, on a positive note that you like learned about yourself, bro, throughout this experience?
I learned that I have influence on a lot of people that I didn't even realize I had on people. I haven't been in Barbados since I was like 15 going on 16. And I still have influence on my friends that I haven't seen. Are all grown. We're all grown men now. I still have a lot of influence on people like that. Jamaica, different people I impact. People I met years ago. I said things to them I didn't even realize it impacted them in a certain way. So I started to realize, like, why not use all my energy and stuff towards being positive and doing the right thing or bettering myself or helping someone else. So, like, for instance, when younger dudes come up here and they run into me, they have a certain type of energy where they bragging about certain things that I'm not interested in. Right. And instead I tell them, like, yo, look at my situation, bro. I'm fighting to go home. I'm like, how much time you got? He's like, I'm about to go home in 18 months. I'm like, yeah, do your best to go home and find a trade. Yeah. Do something with yourself. You feel what I'm saying? Better yourself. So I try to I found out about myself where I can use my influence to prevent people from, or other younger generation dudes from ending up in a predicament like mine, even though, and it's even crazy because I actually didn't commit my crime. So imagine and other people going through too. Yeah. So prevent them from going out. If I wasn't around people I was wrong, I would have been in this position. You know what I'm saying? So share this with this younger, but he decided to go home to Miami and start fresh. No doubt. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I did some good, you know?
Absolutely, bro. I guess if you had any last words, bro, some closing words for the people at home, before I let you go, man, you did a great job, man, by the way, too.
I appreciate that, bro. Definitely appreciate it, 100%. I definitely appreciate it.
So, yeah, do you got some closing words for the audience? Some last words, man?
Yeah, I got closing words. Yeah, this is a call. This is a call to action, and I definitely need support from any and everybody. You know, social media is big. It keeps us all connected. You go on my social media and reach out to some of the people I mentioned, the state representatives, the governor, attorney general and share my stuff, tag them, get them on board, celebrities, anybody that can get on board to, help shed light to my situation and stuff. And, also I'm doing positive stuff from here, like putting out music. I put out a song. It's on all platforms by Rude Boi artist. It's on all music platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, YouTube. It's an effort. The quality is not 100%, but, it's an effort to show them actually doing, working at, not letting this set me back or limit me from pursuing my dream,
Absolutely. And Justice for David Yarde is the Instagram, correct?
Yeah, Justice for David Yarde is the Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
All right, so make sure you guys give him a follow. Like he said, man, tag these politicians, tag these so-called activists, right? To, tag them and run it up, man, and make them be aware of this situation, because it is a very big injustice, man, and we got to put the work in. They're not going to just, let people out because they feel like it, man. You got to actually show them, prove it, which we have, and then actually put the footwork moving forward, because it is a process, and I understand that. So that's just what it is, man. Anybody you want to shout out or anything, man?
I want to shout out to all my family, my loved ones, people that's been supporting me, my activists, Mr. Spencer, my family, my loved ones, my kids, everybody that's been here for me, my girl, free me, because my baby want to see me, everything. I just want to shout out to everybody that's been here for me. Even shout out to this struggle, to this process, because this is definitely made my character a better character.
Absolutely, bro.
And shout out to you. I got to shout out to you too for giving me this opportunity. And JoJo, today's his birthday. Your brother is, real talk.
Happy birthday, JoJo, man. Yeah, so we're gonna leave it on that note right there, man. David Yarde, a.k.a. Rude Boi the artist. Justice for David Yarde is the social media platform. I'm your host, B. Luke. Guys, it is what it is. What's next is what you make it. And on that note, we out of here. Peace.
Peace.
Bounce back, you got a moment when they see you down.